Hello everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. Make sure to flip to a new page of notes. Make sure that you write down today's title, so solve multi-step equations. Make sure to write down today's learning targets. So remember, today's learning targets, it's going to be learning target 3A. Sorry, let me go ahead and fix that A for you. So learning target 3A and 3B. 3A is that you'll be able to solve multi-step equations, which is what we're going to learn about today. Learning target 3B is all on solving equations with variables on both sides, so we've already done that. And then go ahead and write down today's definition and then our little recap definition right there. Okay, I'll give you a moment to write this down and then I'll explain it. Okay, so just a little recap. So today we're gonna be learning about solving multi-step equations. So multi-step is just gonna be, it's pretty much everything we've been doing now, just with a little bit extra steps. So there's gonna be some equations that are gonna look a little bit more complex, but the steps for it are nevertheless gonna be the same. So for us to solve multi-step equations, we must simplify each side of the equation. So simplify each side of the equation if necessary. And remember, the if necessary part is very important for us because it won't always be necessary, but sometimes it will. So you'll see some examples where it's going to be necessary today. Then from there, you're going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Okay, so you're going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. So pretty much what you've been doing before. So you always do the opposite for you to go ahead and find the sides. So we're going to be moving x's to one side and the numbers to the other side. And yeah, you'll see from there as we do some practice today, okay? Alright, so that's how we're going to solve multi-step equations. We're going to do examples and you'll see exactly how it's done. Alright, also, another quick recap that we want to make sure we have is the distributive property. So the distributive property was something that you have learned and seen already in middle school, maybe even before that for some of you. And what the distributive property essentially says is that when you have A times B plus C, so you're going to have situations where you're going to have like a number times B plus C. What that ends up being is just you distribute. So it's going to equal to A times B plus A times C. So all we do, you guys, is we're going to get the A, distribute it to our B, and you distribute it to your C. Okay? We're going to go ahead and do some little bit of practice on distributive properties just to remind ourselves what that is, and then we'll move on. Okay? I'll give you one moment to write this down and then we'll continue. Alright, go ahead and write down this example. So simplify the following three. I'll give you a moment to write this down and then I'll go ahead and pause. Okay, so here's what they want us to do. They want us to simplify. So you have 4 times x minus 3. So you might be wondering, what are we supposed to do? So when you simplify, you want to make sure that you get rid of the parentheses. And how do we do that? We use the distributive property. If you take a look at it, this right here has the exact same form of right here. You have a number on the outside and you have 2 numbers on the inside. So we're going to go ahead and use distributive property. So we're going to use this right here. Okay. So here's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to get my 4, I'm going to distribute it to my x, and I'm going to distribute it to my negative 3. And then now here's what we have. So here's what we're going to get. We're going to get 4 times your x, and then plus, because remember, you don't want to forget that plus sign like we have right here. And you're going to get your 4, and then multiply it by negative 3. So your x and your negative 3. Okay? So then we look at it. 4 times x, remember, these are like oil and water, they don't mix, so you just leave it like that, so you get 4x. 4 times negative 3, remember, that's going to be 12. However, remember, positive times negative, that should give you negative. So you're going to have 4 plus negative 12, and therefore, that's going to give you 4x minus 12. And that's it. That's all you do. Because remember, positive times negative becomes negative. And that's what you do. So remember, this is a quick recap, that's a review. You've already seen this before many times. Alright, let's go to B. So here we have negative 3 times 2x minus 7. So again, you have a number outside and 2 numbers in the parentheses. So again, we're going to go ahead and do distributive property. I'm going to get my negative 3, distribute it to my 2, and distribute it to my negative 7. Then from there, here's what we get. We get negative 3 times your 2x, and then we're going to get plus negative 3, right? Because it's a negative 3 right here, and then times this number right here, and that's negative 7. Then we could go ahead and simplify. So we look at this number, we have negative 3 and negative 2. You multiply these, so negative 3 times negative 2, that should give you negative 6. Because remember, 3 times 2 is 6, and then you have the negative on the front because it's negative times positive. And then don't forget your x. Then right here we have plus negative 3 times negative 7. You should know that that's 21. And especially since this is negative times negative, it's positive. So negative 3 times negative 7 should give you 21. And this right here is how you simplify it. Again, very simple. You're just distributing, getting this number distributed into here, you multiply this, multiply that with that, add them together, and that's it. Okay. Any questions so far? Alright. Now let's look at C. So this right here is 2/3 times 3x minus 6. Again, take a look at it. We have a number right here outside. We have two numbers in the parentheses. So here, I'm going to get my 2/3 distributed to my 3x and distributed to my negative 6. And then now, we go ahead and simplify it. So we're going to get 2/3 times 3x and then plus 2/3. Again, you get the 2/3 again. And now you multiply it by negative 6. Okay? And so you have that. But now you want to be careful, because now we actually have a fraction. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and multiply across. So right here, in order for us to multiply across in a fraction, I'm going to put a 1 underneath it. Why do we put a 1 underneath it? Because 3x divided by 1 is just 3x. And same right here. Negative 6 divided by 1 is just negative 6. So when you put it under 1, you guys, it really doesn't affect this at all. You just have it now in the form of a fraction, so we can go ahead and multiply. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply these two together. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 times 3x all over 3 times 1 plus 2 times negative 6 all over 3 times 1. And there you go. From there, here's what I do. 2 times 3, that gives you 6. And remember, don't forget your x, you have 6x. All over 3 times 1, that is 3. Okay? Let's scroll this up. And then plus 2 times negative 6, that is negative 12. All over 3 times 1, that is 3. And then last but not least, you simplify this. So if you look at your 6 and your 3, we can divide this by 2. So I'm going to put divided by 2 and divided by 3 and divide by 3, because the 3 and the 6 share 3. So then now you get 6 divided by 3, that gives you 3x all over 3 divided by 3, that's 1. And then 12 and 3, they also share a 3. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 3, divide that by 3. And so right here we get plus negative 4 over 1. And then last but not least, I can go ahead and simplify it. So we get 3x, because 3x divided by 1 is 3. And then we get plus negative 4. And then one thing right here, you notice that this right here is positive negative, so that just becomes negative. So your answer is 3x minus 4. Okay? And there you go. Sorry, scroll that up a little bit. Alright. So the point of this, you guys, is distributive property is going to play an important role as you solve these equations, because you are going to encounter some equations where you're going to have parentheses like this. So it's important for us to have this skill as we move on. Okay? Alright. I'll give you a moment to finish writing that down, and then we will continue. Okay. Go ahead and write down example number 2 and example number 3. So you want to make sure that you flip to a new page. So flip to a new page, make sure that you write down example number 2 and example number 3. Also make sure that you provide enough space, so I would provide at least half a page for this. So half a page for this example and then half a page for these examples, okay? I'll give you a moment to write that down, and then we will continue our lesson. Okay, so example number 2, they want us to solve, so A and B. So let's go ahead and take a look at this right here. So they want us to solve 15 equals to 3 plus 4 times 2d minus 3. Okay, so let's take a look at each side. The first thing you want to do is draw your line. So draw your line. And draw a line as long as possible. Now let's take a look at this. Take a look at your left side. You have 15. So this right here is 15. It's just by itself. It's simplified. It's isolated. That's good as is. Now take a look at this side right here. We have 3 times 4 times 2d minus 3. Now ask yourself, is there anything that I can combine? Is there like terms that I can combine? Hopefully you're seeing that there's no multiple d's or multiple numbers. So then now you might realize, Mr. Ruby, what do I do? Okay, so right now in the previous example you saw that I introduced you distributive property. Doesn't this right here look exactly like a distributive property? We have a number on the outside add a number inside and another number right there? Hopefully your answer to that is yes, because this right here is distributive property. So we're going to go ahead and distribute. Okay? Once you distribute, you're going to be able to see what you can do. So you want to go ahead and distribute. I'm going to go ahead and get this 4. I'm going to get my 4. And I'm going to bring it right here. And then I'm going to bring it right there. Okay? So now let's go ahead and continue. So here's what we have. We have 15 equals 2. 3 plus 4 times. Remember, you get your 4 and multiply your 2d. And then we get plus 4. Remember, you get that 4 again. And then you multiply by negative 3. So now we can go ahead and do the maths. We get 15 equals 2. 3 plus 4 times 2. You'll notice that 4 times 2, you guys, is obviously going to equal to 8. And then you just put your d right next to it. So the d value goes right next to your 8. Okay? And then we have 4 times negative 3. What's 4 times negative 3? That should be 12. But however, since it's a negative, then you want to go ahead and put that negative right there as well. Okay? You see how we got rid of the parentheses and now we just have numbers and d values? Yeah. So then now we can go ahead and you'll see that this right here is going to look very, very, very similar to what you've done before. So then now I'm going to go ahead and get this 3, get this negative 12, and I'm going to put those together. So here's what we get. We get 15 equals to 3 plus negative 12 plus 8d. And all I'm doing is just moving things around. That's all I'm doing. So then now you're going to get 15 equals 2. Remember, this right here, this is positive negative, so we're going to put, so you just add these, and since you have a negative, this right here is going to become 9. But remember, since 12 is your biggest value with a negative, then you're going to put negative 9 plus 8d. So hopefully you're seeing that 3 plus negative 12 gives you negative 9. Okay, now let's go ahead and move the negative 9 to the other side. So then now, this right here becomes positive 9. Positive 9. And then now, here's what we get. 15 plus 9, you know that that should give you 24. Equals to 8d. And then last but not least, this is easy. Why? Because all your numbers are on one side, all your variables are on one side. So then I'm going to go ahead and divide by 8. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 8. This cancels, that cancels. And so now you should be able to see easily that d equals to 24 divided by 8, which is 3. So 3 equals to d. And there you go. 3 equals to d. That's your value right there. Okay? So this is very similar. We've already seen this before many times. However, now you have this distributive property that you got to do. But once you distribute it and get to this step right here, it's all fun and games. So this right here is just what you've done before. Okay? Alright. I'll give you a moment to write that down and then let's go to B. Okay, let's go to B. For B, they give us 2/3 equals to 9n minus 6. And 2/3 times 9n minus 6 minus 1 equals to negative 29. Again, take a look at your left side. Is there anything I could simplify, like this, combine like terms? No, there isn't. The right side, is there anything I could do to that? No. So again, we're going to go ahead and draw our line. And you're going to notice something different. Right here, you'll notice that you have the 2/3 times the 9n minus 6. Again, right here, this is another job for us to distribute. So I'm going to get my 2/3, multiply to 9n, and multiply to negative 6. You go ahead and distribute, and you're going to get your 2/3, multiply to this right here, multiply to this right here. So then now let's continue. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 2/3. So 2/3 times 9n. And then, again, I'm going to get plus 2/3 times your negative 6. And then you're going to put minus 1 equals to negative 29. Okay? Then the last step. So right here, you'll notice that 2/3 times 9n, you're multiplying these. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 on right here. You're multiplying both of these, so negative 2/3 and negative 6, you're going to put a 1 right there. So I'm going to multiply across. I'm going to get 2 times 9, that's 18, and all over 3. Plus 2 times negative 6, that is negative 12. All over 3 times 1, that is 3. minus 1 equals to negative 29. Then we go ahead and simplify. 18 divided by 3. You know that 18 divided by 3 is going to give you 6. So now I'm going to get 6n plus negative 12 divided by 3. Remember, negative 12 divided by 3, that's just 4. But since you have that negative, you want to make sure that you put that negative right there. And then minus 1 equals to negative 29. And then now that you'll notice that right here, all we got to do is just simplify. So all your n's are on one side. So that's good. But now, if you take a look at it, you have your negative 4 and your negative 1 that you want to put together. And that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So we're going to get 6n plus negative 5. Okay, remember, negative 4 minus 1, that gives you negative 5, equals to negative 29. Then from there, we're going to bring the negative 5 to the other side. You're going to put plus 5 because remember, it becomes the opposite. And now, as you'll notice, you're going to get 6n equals to negative 29 plus 5, that's negative 24. And so your last step, divide by 6, divide by 6. This cancels, that cancels. And so now I'm going to go ahead and write this, over here since we don't have enough space. That cancels, so 6n divided by 6, that's just n. And that's going to give you negative 24 divided by 6, that should give you negative 4. So remember, negative 24 divided by 6, that's just negative 4. And that's your answer. That's exactly what you want to do right there. Okay? Any questions so far? So again, very similar to what you've already done. It's just now you have the distributive property that you want to take care of. Okay? Alright. I'll give you one moment to write this down, and then we'll go to our last two examples that you already written down. Alright, let's go to example number 3. So right here we're going to solve a and b. So the last two examples that we're doing, let's go ahead and do these. So they want us to solve 5 times a plus 1 minus a equals to 3. So first, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. The very first thing you want to do, you see this parenthesis, so 5 times a plus 1, we're going to go ahead and do distributive property. So that's the first thing you want to do. Do distributive property. So then now, we're going to get 5 times your a plus 5 times your 1. Then we put minus a equals to 3. Now we simplify. We're going to get 5a plus 5 minus 8 equals to 3. You see how simple that is, you guys? You guys already, once you know the distributive property, it becomes cake. It's easy. And then now, we take a look at this side right here. We can go ahead and combine like terms. So you have a 5a right here, you have a negative a right there. So then, I'm going to go ahead and rearrange it. We're going to go 5a minus a plus 5 equals to 3. You know that 5a minus a, there's an imaginary 1 right here in the front. So then now, all you got to do is 5a minus 1, a, that gives you 4a, plus 5 equals to 3. And there you go. All your a's are together, plus 5 equals to 3. And then from here, this is back to basics. So this is the very first thing I taught you guys. Our a's are on one side, so in order for us to have the a's on one side and the numbers on the other side, then we go ahead and move our 5 to the other side. So we're going to put minus 5. I'm going to go ahead and draw this line, continue to write it down. And then right here, we get 4a equals 2. 3 minus 5, that is 2, but remember, since 5 was the biggest number, you put negative 2. Last but not least, divide by 4 on both sides, divide by 4 on both sides, cancel, cancel. And so now, here's what we get. We get a equals to negative 2 all over 4. But if you can recall, 2 and 4, they both have a 2 in common. So then I divide by 2 on the top, divided by 2 at the bottom. And so now, here's what we get. We get a equals 2. We get a equals to negative 2 divided by 2, that's negative 1. And then 4 divided by 2, that gives you 2. And there you go. That's your answer. Your answer is negative 1/2. So you see how simple that is, you guys? Remember, most of these steps you already know. All these steps you already know. You've seen distributive property many times when you were in middle school. But all we're doing now is just incorporating distributive property, and then once you're there, then it just becomes simple. Okay, once you do the distributive property, you do the steps that we've pretty much been doing already. Okay? Alright, I'll give you a moment to write down example A, and then we'll go to B. Okay, let's go to B. So now they give you negative 4x plus 4 equals to 1/2 times 4x minus 10. Again, first things first, draw your line. And I will draw it as long as possible, because you've already seen how many steps it takes, so you want to make sure that you have enough space for that. Okay, left side, negative 4x plus 4. You'll notice that negative 4 is by itself, and your 4 is by itself. So this right here, you can't combine these, so I can't do nothing, so I'll just leave it like that. Then we look at this side. We have distributive property. And hopefully you're noticing that already, guys. When you see a number times the parentheses where there's two numbers in the parentheses, hopefully you're noticing that you got to do distributive property. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrows. So 1 to the 4x and 1 to the negative 10. Okay, now let's go ahead and continue. So we have negative 4x plus 4 equals 2. I'm going to put 1/2 times 4x. And then I'm going to put plus 1/2 times negative 10. So I'll put this negative 10 right here. Sorry, negative 10 right there. There we go. Then from there, since you do have fractions here, then you want to make sure you multiply it and put it as fractions. So I'm going to put 4x over 1 and then negative 10 over 1. And again, when you put the over 1, you guys, this does nothing to it. Remember, 4x divided by 1 is just 4x. Negative 10 divided by 1 is just negative 10. So when you put this over 1, it doesn't affect it. So now I can multiply across. I can multiply 1 times 4x and then multiply the bottom, 2 times 1. I can multiply the top, so 1 times negative 10, multiply the denominator, 2 times 1. So let's go ahead and continue with that. So I'm going to have negative 4x plus 4 equals 2. 1 times 4x all over 2 times 1 plus 1 times negative 10 all over 2 times 1. Then we simplify. I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. So I'm going to put negative 4x plus 4. 1 times 4x, that's 4x. 2 times 1, that is 2. 1 times negative 10, that is negative 10. And then 2 times 1, that is 2. Now we go ahead and simplify this. So 4 divided by 2, now it's going to give me negative 4x. Well, negative 4x plus 4 stays the same at the left side. But 4 divided by 2, that is 2x. And then negative 10 divided by 2, that is negative 5. So I'm going to put plus negative 5. Okay? And then now, we have it simplified. So now, we just take it to the next step. So what do you got to do now? Move the numbers to one side. Since this is negative, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and move it over here to make it positive. So then this right here becomes plus 5. And then, you have negative 4x plus 9 equals to 2x. And then from there, since you have your numbers on one side, move the x's to the other side. And remember, you already know this. So I'm going to put plus 4x. And then now if I extend it just a little bit more, see? You see how important it is to draw that line, you guys? Zoom that up a little bit. So now that we have that, we have 9 equals to, sorry, draw that 9 a little bit more beautiful. 9 equals to 6x. And then now, divide by 6 to both sides. Divide to 6 by both sides. Cancel, cancel. And now, here's what you get. You get x equals to 9 over 6. And you have that. But one thing you want to keep in mind though, 9 and 6, they have something in common. They have a 3 in common. So you want to go ahead and simplify when possible. So you're going to divide by 3, then divide by 3 to both of them. And so now, your x value equals to 9 divided by 3, that is 3. 6 divided by 3, that is 2. And you got it. That right there is your answer, you guys. 3 over 2. Okay? So very simple. It's just, now you just have distributive property and it just takes some more steps. But after that, you'll get it. Alright, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and work on IXL now. So once you finish that, when you get a score higher than an 80, then you will be dismissed. Remember, these notes are on YouTube for you in case you need them. With that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and let's continue to work.